Good morning. Here we go. Stream of consciousness starting right now. It's going to be an interesting morning because 10 minutes ago I was asleep. And I literally have thought about, literally I have thought about something. I brushed my teeth, I put clothes on, and stuff like that. But I have done no contemplation about the show, about what it is I'm going to say, about who it is that I am. None of that. So it's going to be fresh, right out of the the dreaming chambers. Straight from there, here I come. We're going to talk about who am I. I know that in a way, this is a personal project. Has to be. I have to do it from a personal project position. But I don't mean it to be personal. And I create it in conditions, but I don't mean it to be conditional either. And even though a whole lot of people don't listen to me right this minute, I have left an archive behind me of the whole picture of what it is that I'm trying to say about how I see the world. And I know it doesn't matter because it's just a perspective. I see this perspective, and you have a perspective, and everybody has a perspective. This is so funny. I just came across a concept that, of course, this is, and it's even called exactly what Douglas Adams called it, and that is the total perspective vortex. Everyone is a wholeness, and everyone who tries to pull their whole thing together and then state what it looks like from where they are becomes really interesting to the people around you, because you become the package of that you're vibrating becomes more in a nutshell, more in a, oh, I can take you all in. And oh, isn't it interesting what you say about pain, but maybe you've pulled it all together and you see this presence and this nowness and this when you try to analyze the negative self, so you're trying to figure out what the meaning of that is, because that's a lot of what we talk about in the show is the meaning of the negative self. Maybe you've pulled it together and you start saying, oh, it's like a pain body, and it's like an energetic body full of negative energy, and when it starts to get low, what it does is it gets you to let it drive the car, and then it goes out and picks a fight. It picks a fight with somebody or something because it just feels like it has to do that. You know? That's what our negative energy self is. Anyway, who I'm describing there is what it looked like to swallow Eckhart Tolle. And he tells his story about where he came from and where his epiphany came from. And then he pulls together this integral picture of this is, a valid way to holistically look at the world or whatever. And then all of the teachers that I have had, my playlists in YouTube read like the lists of the gurus that I have studied as time has gone by. Let me tell you some of them. I have everybody from, go back to the way earlier. Bruce Lipton, Howard Martin, Greg Braden, Rupert Sheldrake, Jesus, Tom Campbell, Tim Freak, Dr. Sue Morter, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Jill Bolte Taylor, Joseph Campbell. These are not in order of how I got them either, because the next one's Deepak Chopra, and out of all those, he was probably first. I ran across his consciousness and his thought forms, his presentations back in maybe 1994. It was before I became a widow, and it was really early on. It was when Oprah introduced him to the world. And I bought a couple of his books. I lost 20 pounds using his weight loss book. I could maybe do that again. That one was real gentle and very holistic and healthy, and that was probably a good thing about it. Um, so let's see. I have a couple more. Gary Zukav, Oprah, even actually. I have a playlist here of Oprah, and Oprah has lots and lots of people that she's adjacent to, wisdom people, father so and so, and um, I don't. Well, Gary Zukov, for instance, is the one that brought out is Oprah brought up Gary Zukov, and Oprah brought out Deepak Chopra. And then my Oprah videos have her talking to a lot of different people. She's also interviewing Jill Bolte Taylor, and she is on other playlists besides. And then I have one that's just Oprah, and that's who the common thread is. Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey has had a moment of, so you might say he's gone off the deep end. That's true, but you know what? Gone off the deep end in this case actually means he has found a touch of sanity. Now, true to Jim Carrey, it comes through in quite wild colors. His imagination with it is, and he's playful. He is playful. And remember, we have discussed this. The attitude of play brings a characteristic of clay to your. Let's see. Do I have anybody else? Eben Alexander. He was an interesting person. He's a doc. Now, you could argue ultimately how materially effective his path is or not. I have not kept in touch with Eben Alexander's work, but his whole claim to fame is that he came down with this raging encephalitis. Can't remember what kind of encephalitis it was called, but it overtook him within a few hours. And it just killed his brain. And then he ended up having an amazing, amazing, amazing experience that he claims is proof of heaven, that because his brain was in no condition to be producing the phenomenon that he ended up experiencing. And so it just proves that there is an otherwhere of some sort. Now, I agree with that. Your imagination is true vibrational downloads coming from your inner being. How you are translating them is personal and not necessarily an objective one-on-one relationship between you and an objective world. Given, I will give you that. It's not necessarily a one-to-one relationship between, but your imagination does have a real relationship with the real world. And so whatever it was that Eben Alexander experienced, and then he was quite eloquent about it. I don't think he was ever sharp enough to go back to brain surgery. I don't think he ever had the inclination to go back to brain surgery and to be the hot dog brain surgeon operating in that high-powered, high-pitched field ever again. But he was interesting. I've got a playlist of his. And do I have anybody else? And then the obvious one that I don't have much playlist for, Paul Levy. Did I say Paul Levy? Oh, I hear there's Paul Levy. I have a playlist. I just didn't know. And Eckhart Tolle. Yeah, well, anyway, you get my drift. So that's what my old YouTube playlists read like. All of the gurus that I have swallowed, and you just take them in when anybody attempts a whole position and gets out there and starts signaling this whole position, it becomes really interesting to others because you can swallow them whole then and get the gist of what it looks like from their position, because that's all we are anyway, is lights on a grid. lighting up a position. And so, you don't take me to the wholeness, you take me to my little space, and it helps you light up the wholeness for you. But when somebody is operating from some sort of an integral position, it kind of lights up in an abstract way a frame, a mainframe framework that we all operate from within. And if we can light that up, then lighting up the rest of the grid gets easier. Interesting. Anyway, who am I? That's the question of the day. It's the question of every day. We will keep asking it. We don't ask it in terms of current events. I have noticed whether I watch the news or not, or whether I spend the day watching Star Trek or sleeping or playing Bubble Mouse, or whether I spend it baking or gardening or shopping or taking care of the spouse or playing golf or traveling, it almost doesn't matter. The show is unchanged because I realize it's talking about something that abides in a space that is beyond the move of the flux and flow. That eternal, relentless flux, the fact that everything physical around you changes all the time. It's the way the thing is designed. The way it's designed is it winks completely out and it winks completely back in, and what's holding it back in, what's holding it wherever it is attention and focus from somebody in some manner, from some consciousness, from somebody in some manner. That's being held into place by focus and attention. And otherwise, so you can hold it to something that kind of looks like the same for quite a long time, actually. But if it's not sustainable, then it won't sustain. It will fall away. And it always replicates imperfectly. So you might be looking at what you've got, but there's all kinds of different aspects of what you've got. So who knows what you're actually looking at? But whatever aspect of it you're looking at, that's what's holding into place. Or the way you're looking at it is holding it into place. I feel like I'm getting a little esoteric. I'm also thinking of a specific actual reality, a current event, if you will, in my own life. I have aging parent. It's the last of the four from between my spouse and myself. The ones we are personally responsible for feeling with our hearts and helping to make sure with our minds and hearts that they are, at least tangentially make sure, at least know, have gone in there and thought about it and felt about it and decide what it is that you need to do, how you're going to act about it. And I've been thinking about this. The problem is that an absolute beloved, no question about it, beloved to the point of heartache and heartbreak to me for much of my life, because he has been so distant. He took off, and he was distant. Not only, he just never, he never called. He was never there. He was very evasive. Put you off even sometimes when you want. I don't know. Way too blasé about our attachment to him, and my attachment to I as an early child, he was the one I idolized. He was the one I guess not worshipped. I guess idolized will do. But I was in love with him. He recorded for the family a recording of Winnie the Pooh. He read Winnie the Pooh to the family, and he was so good. It was so good. And I have it captured, and I have it on CD. Actually, I have it on my computer upstairs on some format or other. It might be MP4. That would be great. But anyway, he was gone a lot. His work took him out in the field a lot, which is where he loved to be. It's what he wanted to do. He did what he did for love. And as such, my love for him showed me him. It allowed me to swallow him and to realize, oh, and I thought he was just amazing. How he went his own way and he did what he did for love. And the love that he had was for nature. You know, yeah, it took him away from us, and it really took him away from my mother, which was interesting because she had a really big love of nature too. That was actually where their two souls met, where their two spirits filled with love actually met. Was my mother had a deep, deep, deep love of nature too. And to the end, she found a lot of her meditative peace in driving her little vehicle, her Jeep, out into the woods and, counting the elk. And I think she might have gotten it to a pretty superstitious and fearful level. Maybe. I don't know. It probably still connected her to the soul of Source and God. I'm sure it did. Made her feel better, and that's your indication that you are closer to Source. When you are closest to Source, it feels really, really good. And when you are less far from Source, it doesn't feel so good. And when you are in negative emotion, it really doesn't feel very good. Now, if anybody ever, who knows me personally, ever, runs across these tapes and listens to the idealistic forms that I outline a lot of times, and then declare that maybe, I think that, well, if they ever see me in negative emotion, understand that I'm human. I'm absolutely human. And this discussion that I'm having is not beyond, who I am. I know this because I'm telling you, because I am, no, we can all know these things. So who am I? Light on a grid. Center of my own universe. And that is actually true. I am at the center of my own universe, and you are at the center of your own universe. And the way your consciousness works is that you are two beings. You are your individual self. You're the specific one in the meat suit. You are that one. But there's another one that you actually are, that is pinned to you in a particularly blessed and sacred way. You hold the center of that being. There is a center that you own. Well, actually, your individual self pins the center of you to your vibrational self, making it, purely you, purely yours. So your inner being is you. But your inner being is vibrational and does not stop at the end of your skin. Can't. Because there's no resistance where it is, and it's just feeling the whole universe, what it actually is. It's reverberating through time and space and touching all of the molecules and knowing. That's why it knows everything. And so just know that this vibrational being that is you, but is also everybody, but you, the reason that it's important that it's you is because it's tagged to you in a blessed place where it shows you the information that you need from where you are in a connected way, tagging you into the rest of the field in a win-win-win-win position. You just have to know that you are there somewhere, somehow. I have been creating this body of work. It's almost like me in a laboratory. My OBS studio is the laboratory, the test tube, the records keeping, whatever. It's a layman's feed out. Is that what it is? Feed out? It's the output of the experiment. In layman's, you just have to turn on the YouTube channel and watch who am I as this, whoever this is, because the Who Am I program is almost like little me, an exercise where little me works on allowing big me to have a voice. I've been hearing her in my head forever. She is just thoughts of perfection. And I lay in my bed at night with my eyes closed and I could put it together. I could hear how it fit together, but I couldn't translate that out to the outside. I kept thinking, oh, if I could just, I wished that I had a pencil and a piece of paper, but could keep it under the covers with my eyes closed and somehow just transfer all these beautiful words that were flowing through my head, this way that I understood how the world came together. And I just couldn't do it. And so the way this show started, I would come creeping down in the middle of the night, like, well, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 to 4:30, something like that. My eyes closed. I couldn't even open up my eyes. And I'd keep the lights off, and I'd indulge in like a single breath of cannabis. There, I've admitted it. And then I'd just sit there in the dark and talk to myself. I would start to, get this inner voice to speak, get her to speak. And I just talk to myself. And at first I could hear the wisdom that was coming, and it didn't make any sense for me to do it just to do it. And so I recorded that. I did record that, but I recorded it on a, for some reason it was always important that it was recorded, because the potential of the two-sided conversation, the mouth and the ear had to both be there, had to both be present in the room at the same time. I think it's why Abraham does what she does and the way that she does it, because the mouth and the ear has to be in the room at the same time, and she's the mouth and the audience is the ear. And even if no one ever listens to that ear, the angels heard that ear, but I need to think that there's an ear on the other side of my voice. And so I recorded it on I think it's an app I still have on my phone. I wouldn't have taken it off because it has all the files. But, when I get a new phone, this will fall away. There's no way for me to capture that I know of those early days of what I would say, how I was trying to, that would be so interesting, wouldn't it? Because that was way before it was a Who Am I show. I didn't know what it was at the time. I knew that there was a book or two rattling around inside of me. There's a nonfiction one for sure. There's several nonfiction ones. They keep coming up. Ooh, this would be a good nonfiction book. No, that's not true. The fiction books come up like that with the nonfiction books. I've had my eye on a lot of them for a long time. One is the book Divine Autonomy, which explains, this is what divine autonomy would be about. So I talk all the time about the binary self and the nature of the universe and the fact that it's all spinning space-time, and because we discussed Nassim Harameyn's work. But really what this show is going to end up being is me. The more that I do this, the more that my certain tracks of my neural pathways are locked in, and now I can explore the relationship between these things. And the two factors that I discuss in my Who Am I show is the law of attraction, and all of that whole field, that whole esoteric field. It's actually quite a large field. Abraham has spent her entire career for the last 35 years doing nothing but that, explaining to people that. That's what her whole career has been, explaining to people that half of the equation. And so there's plenty there. There's a lot of meat there as you explain the momentum and the vortices of attraction, the two spinning discs of attraction, if you will, and cooperative components, and the steps of creation, 1, 2, 3. Step 1, you ask. Life and the goods and bads and the likes and dislikes of life cause you to focus clearly. Oh, I understand who I am because what I like and what I don't like. It turns out I am love. We all are, by the way. Psst, spoiler alert. We all are. Even the ornery ones are love. And actually, the fact that they are love is explaining why the ornery in them goes so poorly for them. The ornery do not rule the world. You know, the ornery sweep through in their storms for a day or a month or a season, however you want to look at it, and they tear things down, but they don't own the world. The ornery do not own the world. The ones who are going to own the world are, and the meek shall inherit the earth. This is very interesting. When you start getting into this place in your own mind, P.S. Spoiler alert. Well, no, this isn't a spoiler alert. Because I confessed something earlier, I want to confess something now. The fact is I have gotten to the point where I do not need the cannabis inhale in order to get to these same places. But I had to start there. It was my higher self calling me to a little bit bigger thought, a little bit bigger thought, a little bit bigger thought. I had met law of attraction by then. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So you could spend your whole career just talking about that half of the equation. And then the other half of the equation is, wow, it is a really big deal that Nassim Haramein has unified quantum and cosmological physics. Now, it may be true that commercial physicists have not embraced him yet. They may not understand what he's saying. They may not have done the math, or you have to conceptualize it in your mind, and their imagination is not lined up that way, and so they just can't see it. Maybe it's that. I don't know. Maybe their bread is buttered on the other side, and so they don't want to see it. I don't know. It all depends. Are you Brian Cox? Are you Sheldon Cooper? I know Sheldon Cooper had never figured it out, and well, frankly, he is actually not a physicist. He's an actor playing a role, and I'm sure Jim Parsons has no idea about, but maybe he does. And since he played Sheldon and had to learn all these words, maybe he would be interested in unified physics. I don't know, but Sheldon Cooper never did embrace it, because as far as I have I would think that if this really broke through to mainstream, I would hear it. I've got my ear to the ground in at least an historical degree. Yeah, that's an uncomfortable and historical. A historical and historical. Yeah, no wonder the English started dropping their H's. But I don't have my ear to the ground to the current events to any kind of specific level, because I don't think it matters. And if I'm not interested in the drama and I am busy trying to direct my life intentionally from my own center, so that I am calling my own shots and being my real self, and manning my center. This is a difficult subject to speak about from scattered positions. You have to pull yourself up to a place where you can see it small enough, so it's a nutshell small enough that you can cover the whole ground. I think it has to do with pulling into different scaling data fields, because you are your your teeny weeny self, and then your slightly larger self, and then a bigger self, and then a bigger self, and you sort of click out and out and out in concentric spheres. Actually, isn't that funny? Perfect concentric spheres. I wonder if that's what Aristotle was really trying to talk about. I'm sure Aristotle was talking about some sort of internal thing that had to do with the internal landscape of consciousness. I'm sure the social power structure of the Holy Roman Church took that at some point, literal, rigid, concrete, from the outside, imposed it to others, and that's where they went wrong. And their insistence on, so that took them to the Inquisition, that took them to places where they were burning people at the stake and torturing them in the dungeons until they screamed, yes, I do believe literally that Mary was a virgin when she gave birth to Jesus, and literally this and then da 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 da. And that's where they went wrong. And also their insistence that the outside world looks like such and such and behaves in such a way, when actually they couldn't know that. What am I really saying? Well, what I'm thinking about in my mind is the fact that, Galileo was thrown into Inquisition prison because he claimed that that it wasn't physically the way the church said, because he could see. He would go out. He took his telescope that he had invented so that he could look at the night sky, and he got his telescope set on Jupiter, and he started tracking what the little things moving around Jupiter were doing. And as he was recording everything's position every night and then connecting the dots so he could figure out how they were moving, he realized that they were not spinning around the Earth. They weren't even spinning around the sun. They were spinning around Jupiter. And that whole thing might be spinning around the sun, but, anyway, he was claiming things about the physical world that was contradicting what the church was saying that the physical world ought to be, but the church didn't really have any idea what the physical world was. They were just going from the as above, so below, and they had locked into something in consciousness. They assumed it must be exactly the same, literally exactly the same, and they tortured people who disagreed with them. That's a tangent. Who am I? Who am I? Let's circle back to that. So my two fields of thought that I draw from are, as you might have guessed, law of attraction and unified physics. Each one of them a big enough undertaking that Nassim Haramein has spent his entire life studying the unified physics aspect of it. Now I come along, little old me, swallowing my gurus, and the first one I swallowed was Nassim. Nassim was the first one I heard, and so it had to be because I didn't meet actual law of attraction. I think I bought the book Law of Attraction late in 2019. If I didn't buy it then, that's when I read it. And then I met Abraham Hicks and her work on YouTube early in 2020 before COVID shut us all down. And I had met Nassim's work earlier than that because The Connected Universe was made in 2016, and I had sent it to people 2018, maybe 2017, I don't know. 2018. It was available on YouTube, and I was sending it to people, and then it got lost. It went away. You couldn't find it on YouTube. For all I know, the link that I have up has been scrubbed again. I don't know. I hope it's still there. I think all of this stuff is becoming more and more open and harder to squelch, and the spirit really is rising, and the desire to push back against everything I'm hoping I'm not the only one who is finding less and less resistance to the rest of the world. I can find a path that doesn't have me pushing back against anybody. And as long as I don't push back against anybody, I don't rub anybody the wrong way, and I don't push anybody's negative buttons and cause them to focus their negative attention on me, which I really don't want, you know. I'd just soon not be. I am not going to call myself a hero who measures her value by the size of the villain, or maybe I am, and it's polarity itself. Isn't that the biggest villain you could have? And it just dissolves when your enemy is polarity. Then anytime you otherize, you increase the polarity, and you add to the energy, the negative energy in the field phenomenon going on, the storm that is brewing. You know, we don't have to take this personally. This phenomenon all of the phenomenon that plays out around us. However, I don't know how to do the grammar on any of this, because am I me? Am I we? Who's talking here? Who are we? Who am I? Who am I? So I was off on the law of attraction side of it. I don't think I finished it. Contrast caused you to ask. Vibrationally, source answers. It answers with the implicate positive vibration of the negative you cried out, because your inner being is never negative, is always forward looking, is always looking at what is, never at what is not. It's always looking at what is. So she's got a firm grip on the actual placement of all the atoms, where all the manifestation is appearing. She knows where it is, because it's all spin, and it's all tagged to her by virtue of the source spin, the original spin, the spin we all share. You are two spins. You are source spin, and you are your individual spin. But the two of them are tagged to one another. You are linked to your source. You are linked to the original spin, and that's how you have access to all the rest of the universe. It's how you have access to all the rest of the information. It's the pull of this shared point is trying to organize us all in loving ways, in loving co-beneficial ways, in win-win position ways, in ways where all of us and our desires are met. That's where your inner being stands in a place where you win. You absolutely win in the place where your inner being is standing. And so follow that one. Now, there may be places where your inner being, where it's not in alignment with your inner being, where you could potentially win-ish. But anytime it's out of alignment and doesn't include a lot of win-win others, then there you are also creating Loki, Shiva, demonic energy, a crosswind of a cross current in the field, if you will, a ripple, a against the grain thing that others might pick up this energy, and it can fuel storms that will blow back through and knock it down. If you really want it to be something that lasts, something that stands, get into real alignment with your real source and find the win, 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 win. Then all the others become cooperative components to your desire. This is advice to everybody, by the way, if you're out there starting a business, or if you're, get excited about the win-win point, about all the people that you could help in your business, as it's all of the things that it needs to be. The problem is everybody is thinking too small. They're thinking so small, and they're thinking so powerlessly, that they imagine that that the only thing that's available to them is just pick one aspect of the situation that you'll settle for, and then settle for that. When if you would put all the aspects together, then you would realize, oh, if I insist on it being everything I want, there really is a path to all of that. But when I just want pieces of it, now I have to settle here and there, you know? It's really weird. It is what Abraham's talking about. It's baking together in a vortex of creation all of your preferences as you have put them in. Your inner being is standing where that is and calling you to it vibrationally, and it's a positive vibration. So you cannot find it from where it feels bad. And so the way to find it is pay attention to how you feel. Care about feeling good. Do not be so ready to let your good feeling, to throw your good feeling away in order to react to something in your field. You know, you do not have to react to everything in your personal field that floats by. You do not have to react positive or negative. You do not have to do that. Some people that I know feel like they have to do that. If something negative goes by, they cannot just in soberness, in sobriety, in somber, acceptance, just feel it, feel the weight of it and then let it pass, or assimilate it into the wholeness and understand it in a bigger way, which eases the pain and in a way lets it pass. So the information of that still goes into the wholeness of the grid you're building. So you have this place in your consciousness where you are imagining everything. In that place where you are imagining that you are imagining everything, everything has to go. You can't subtract anything from that place. Now, there is another thing you do. There is such a thing as selective focus. And that's fair. You don't have to look at everything all the time. But if you are imagining everything, the world, the allness of the world around you, everything that is other than you, that kind of space, if you're imagining it, everything has to go there. So you can't subtract things. That's important too, because I know that there are a lot of people who unconsciously, they engage in a concept I call subtraction consciousness, where they selectively, they edit a thought before they enter it into their operating system. At some point, you have to have your operating system set up in such a way, in a kind of a detached way, where you are separate from your operating system. There is a source self of you that you have identified and identified with, and it is standing apart from you and your thinking mind's operating system. This is over here where you feel. Actually, both places have feeling aspects, so I don't know how you identify, how you get outside of yourself. But the reason you do this is because you need to stand in a position where you can taste thoughts. So you think a thought and then you taste it. You feel how it feels. How does that thought feel? And you can tell fairly quickly how the thought feels, so that if it feels bad, you don't keep operating on that one. You pull it from the top of the operating system. You certainly don't let at the top of your operating system go any functions that that they spit out negative thought that you then count on, literally, like from Fortran, count equals count plus one, count on, and then keep going and build and build and build, because momentum is a thing. And that reminds me. So I'm here spinning off my own ideas, subtraction consciousness, and how all of that stuff works, when I haven't adequately finished explaining the basics of the law of attraction and Esther's work with momentum and steps 1, 2, 3. I think step 3 of your chore, your job in creation, works like this. So step one is you. Step one is your work. You're here in this physical body banging around in contrast. People around you are either doing things you like or things you don't like. You know, some of them are murdering each other, they're being unkind to small animals, or they are pig-headedly, unconsciously destroying ecosystems around them for their desire to build businesses and feed their families and get very wealthy so that they can play on private islands in the Caribbean, and all kinds of things are going on. Lots and lots of things I like, things I don't like. Contrast causes you and your specific life as you go forth and choose, because you are a chooser of life. Esther is absolutely correct about this. Get out of the freaking, out from under the hood of your car, your vehicle. Get out from under the hood and get back behind the wheel and look forward through the windshield and point to where you want to go, because that's what you're designed to do. Quit doing the stuff that's not your job. Your job is to choose your preferences, to choose what would be better. Kindness, so much better than cruelty. Peace, so much better than war. Cooperation, so much better than conflict. Uh, Creativity, so much better than destruction. But you have to also understand the energies and the forces at work. There are unconscious, or not unconscious, it's not unconscious energies, but there are forces at play that the consciousnesses are working with. Nobody can get outside of the laws of the universe. The laws of the universe being what you put out is what you get back. That's sort of a law. No one can be an exception to that. The structure is what the structure is. And so, in our discussions, who am I? The two parts that we're going to be talking about are, on the one hand, the structure from the point of view of new unified physics and a layman's understanding of the basic structure that we are embedded in, and where the four forces, what they actually are, and where they are coming from. You know, it's all spin. And I now understand Nassim talking about the magnetic field. Magnetism is the analogy of the water in the tub, and the gradient density between the emptiness below the drain and the water, going down the drain, and the pull of the water pulling everything towards it, and the drain, and the water going down is gravity, and there's something going up. Electromagnetic forces. The electromagnetic field is the force going up, and the gravity is the one going down, and the whole field is spinning. The whole field is spinning. And in individual places where, because it's all made of Planck oscillators, and any of these oscillators can themselves go into spin if there's a gradient density in the field around them. Now, it takes quite a lot to throw the field into a black hole of a vortex of actual spin that holds. That's a proton. That's what we call physical reality. But all it is this Planck field of oscillators that any one of them can. And so they're either spinning independently, or they are joining the pull of other spins. And we are all engaged in more than one spin, I'll tell you that. Well, really obvious ones. We're spinning with our planet, and then that planet is spinning around a sun, and then the sun, and all of these are different locales of spin. Different centers of spin are pulling us around the universe. And actually, if you start adding up all the spins, I believe that if you could add up all the way to infinity, all the spins that we are, all the way up and all the way down, I'll just bet that it all adds up to the speed of light, because what's actually happening is we're all moving at the speed of light. We are all light beings moving through time, through space, through this thing we call physical reality. That's what I believe. Now, I can't prove all of this, but it just feels right. It just tastes right in a general way. I leave it to others to go to the specifics on this one. My specialty, turns out, is that I'm a general. And in general, it is for me to put all things together so that they harmonize in a general way within me, so that I feel the center of the center of the center. Oh, that's what I was going to get a hold of. There's a lovely quote from Nassim. Has to do with the centers of your spin. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? See, I don't really think about my presentation till I get into the... Well, I can paraphrase it. And maybe it's time for me to paraphrase it anyway. So it's like we have these layers of ourself, and they correspond to layers of the data fields that we are tagged into from the inside of our consciousness. As above, so below, as within the inner and the outer, there is a correlation. And there's a correlation in these spins, these centers of spins. So I am not just one center of spin. The wholeness that is me, that has come forth into this human body, is the center of a great spin. But I also have within me, cooperating within my spin, is some 50 trillion other independent, autonomous spins. Each of them having sort of agreed to be part of Project Me. But we are parts of bigger morphogenetic fields of data also. And as it goes outward, it's like this. Because it's black holes all the way up and all the way down, and they're sharing scalar data information across the Planck field, and the way they do it is through this jiggle of space-time, where it's like a reverberation as the whole Planck field is touching itself. It's this divine plasma, this fluid dynamic, but it's a fluid made of Plancks. And the whole universe, think of it as a plasma, a full plasma of these Plancks. And when they organize in spin, we call it the physical world. And when they aren't organized in spin, we call it space. But it's all the same thing. And we have been discounting the stuff in the space because it appears to be random. They're calling it the 0-point energy field now, because it's this thing that at rest, actually, you go in and try to... It turns out that even at rest, at the 0-point energy field level, it's highly, 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 highly energetic. At this Planck field level, all the Plancks, and there's lots and lots and lots of Plancks, lots and lots and lots of Plancks, and they're touching one another, they are jiggling together, and they are causing a holographic effect through the interference pattern. The universal interference pattern that they are creating is transferring the information of all of the different spaces to all the other different spaces. Every one of us has all the information of all the rest of the universe. I have the whole thing. And you have the whole thing. And so you might say, well, why am I special then? Because you have it from your position on the grid. And I have it from my position on the grid. And I'm telling you, right now, that makes all the difference in the world. None of us are the same. We are so wildly different. You'd think we'd be the same. We're all made out of the same Legos. But we aren't the same. But the cool thing about us being all made out of the same Legos is we're all the same being. It's like, I'm the liver, you're the kidneys, or it's not really like that. It's not like that. But we are all one thing. And this one thing is beneficently attempting to organize us with ourselves. And anything would be okay if we would do it with the right intention in our mind, because what's in the focus point of your attention, in the aperture of your attention, your intention, what is at the aperture of your attention as you pursue your intention is everything. And corrupted thoughts will magnify over time, because law of attraction will give the momentum, and something that was eeny weeny turns way, way big. And now you can see the little flaw in there now has become a gigantic... It seemed in alignment when we first created that thing, but then it was rigid and everything changed around it, but that had to stay the same. And now you can see, as you have grown it through time, you go, oh, wait a minute, that really is a fatal flaw. That intention to make money, instead of the pure intention being for the good. So, because you can keep it pure. You can keep it pure. My intention is, I want to thrive. I want to be joyful. I want to play with others. I want to find the win-win position. I want to benefit the rest of us, because when we all do good, when we all do better, we all do better. But if you'll keep in the center of your intention for you to thrive, because you are valuable and you are worth it and you are meaningful and you are important to the equation. You deserve it. You are good. You are good. You are important. Keep yourself in the center of that important equation too. Don't sacrifice yourself for the rest of the group. Find yourself for the rest of the group. You are different. There is something different about you. There is something important about you. There is some reason that you are here. There is something really important about the situation that you understand that other people don't. Whether it's, an understanding that you have about the way certain things ebb and flow in your environment, your neck of the woods, the way you understand people, or the way you understand this particular neck of your island nation, or your particular people, or the birds, that, whatever it is. And how do you find this? You have to follow your heart. You have to follow your heart. Your heart is source calling you. Now, I would advise anyone who wants to understand these things further, go swallow gurus. Ask for yourself. Open these questions for yourself about, the meaning of life and the meaning of you, and be open-minded. I opened my mind in my teenage years. I had a religious yoke. And perhaps I should have given my children a religious yoke, but instead I was really, really open with them, and I should have given them any kind of a religious background so that they could compare it, contrast it, feel the pull of that, and offer some resistance to it, and feel their own resistance, allow themselves to feel their own muscles. I didn't want to, because I am reluctant to tell anyone what to do. And that was probably a poor choice of positions, and then for me to go ahead and have children, because you have to tell your children what to do to some extent. They need you to tell them what to do because they don't know what to do. They have been born into a world where they don't understand the rules. And unfortunately, their mother, in a big way, was still trying to understand the rules, and as such did not feel comfortable telling them what to do. But that has also taught me something really interesting, which is ultimately what we need to be taught early on is how our equipment works and what it is that the world expects of us. Now, I was accurate in that I kept telling them, hey, you got to find what you want. But I didn't know how to tell them how to find that. Pay attention to how you feel is what I should have said. Pay attention to how you feel. Instead, I told them, you need to go find what you want. And I sort of got them doing that by focusing on the physical world. I really, really did. I did not give them a spiritual background. I gave them a materialistic background because I refused to indoctrinate them in my birth religion. I had freed myself from my birth religion when I was in my teenage years, at least from being ruled by my I don't want to keep saying birth religion, but the one that I came from, the one that was taught to me when I was born and raised into. I threw the yoke of that one off at about the age of 14. I think I was 14 when I did it. And it was hard for me. I had a hard moment. It was scary and it was dramatic, as I was afraid that, but what if they're right? What if they're right? Then then I'm going to hell, or I'm going to be cast into outer darkness because I have intentionally, in full consciousness, I have, knowing the truth, I have rejected it. And so I'm going to blah, 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 blah. Well, that didn't happen. Actually, what happened is my mind became very open. Very open. And only with an open mind can you taste new thoughts. Enter them into your consciousness. Here, let me feel that one. Give me that thought. Here, I'll put it through. Let me put it through. Drop it at the top. Put it out at the end. Is it outputting positive on the other end of it, or is there a poison thread in there that, given any kind of time and momentum, that is going to start growing into something bad? Because I can feel it doesn't feel good now. It's not going to feel any better when I ponder it for another, whatever, from that direction. Now it depends. We live in a world where there are things going on that you don't like. And there are actually also things going on that you would like to change to things that you do like going on. I would like to have all the people out there who know the elephants so well because they've been hunting them, because they need to sell their tusks to whoever in China, so that they can capitalize, so that they can get a piece of the marketplace that is humanity, so that they can, have their iPad or their iPhone, so that even out in the bush they can connect to the outside world, or whatever. Maybe they just need a few gallons of gas to make their lorry go, a few more miles down the road, or whatever it is that people are doing out there for a piece of humanity's pie, a piece of humanity's product. What's on the supply chain of humanity. It's like our life's blood. And all the people in all the different locations, they do their best, and they come up with whatever product, whether it's the best goat cheese or the best honey or the best wicker baskets or the best software, let's just say software, or the best technology, or the best shoes, or the best eyeglasses, or the coolest affirmation cards, or. And if you want a piece of that, and a lot of that right now includes energy. You have to buy your energy, and so you have to have capitalized already before you even get started. because you need capital for that energy to get you started for a lot of things. Now, there's some things you can do without, and you can parse it and such, but this is why we need to switch our energy supply, because it's really going to energize the system. Right now, society's supply chain and economy, Abraham talks about our economy, and we are not shipping it in from other planets. But I always roll my eyes a little bit because Esther herself has trained herself to only look at the light, and she has not really spent much time uh, ingesting into her soul I think some reality is necessary to input. It is, especially if you imagine that you actually are interacting with a whole world. The whole world has positive and negative, and you've got to understand that negative. And yes, it is a matter of people. She's correct about everything that she's correct about. And it is true that if all you did was pay attention to how you feel, your inner being would lead you away from, we wouldn't have created the problems that we have created. That we already we would have just, experienced something we didn't like, and then immediately shifted back to our positive self, then get the good idea about how to fix that, by your inner being helps you fix things, not by the drudgery chore of fixing broken things, but by the light of ideas that thrill you about how something is going to be cool. Uh, Wow, it's quiet. It used to be, as I did the show, the cooler was on in the background. And now I almost need a soft music in the background or something. Back in the old days when I just sat on the bed and talked to myself into a recorder on my phone, I would have my tablet playing over to the side it was Tibetan singing bowls in the rain. That was what I did my meditation with too, against the backdrop of that. And actually, then I evolved into where I would start the morning with Nassim Harameyn's Taurus meditation. I can't remember how long that was, 14 minutes, something like that. I could say it by rote. I could say it right along with him. About the vortices above your head and the vortex below your head connecting you to the center of the earth, which connects you to the center of the sun, which connects you to the center of the galaxy, which to the center of the cluster, to the supercluster, to multiverse, and so on. I always thought that he skipped the universe. He went straight from supercluster to multiverse, and I always thought that was a mistake. Don't know if it was, but anyway, that's what I used to do. Who am I? Who am I? Part of the question, because I am a little self, and I have a whole life that I've got to choose. That I have to choose what I want, what we want to do with our money, and what projects we want to endorse. Right now we've got some mutual financial projects going on with the girls involving, a house that we co-own with one of them that we're going to put up for. We've decided that until the selling season comes back around next spring, at which time we'll be absolutely ready to pounce upon this, should it feel right. We're going to employ its Airbnb potential and put it up and rent it and have it pay its own way, pay for its own mortgage, and maybe a little more. Mortgage and or improvement fund. or help others pay their mortgage. Anyway, we're going to pull the trigger on it being a business, not a house for sale. And so we're working with the kids, helping them to make their financial dreams come true, because in a way I see it, I don't see them as a drag. I see them as an engine of energy that I don't actually possess. And if I invest in their success, then I will get a return on my investment that is more than I want to, because I want to take it easy. I really do want to take it easy. Although I'm certainly not ready to hang up the towel or anything. I'm fully engaged in life, but I want it to be easy at this point. I don't want struggle. I want to see how easy and how full and how blessed it can get, depending on how deeply aligned we all are with the field, the true field around us, around me. Because I can only man my own center and let the us take care of itself. But that's not entirely true. Remember, I advocate the win-win position, and you can do this consciously. How can this benefit more than just me? Or at least, when you start tagging into the rest of the field and you start engaging your humorous, connected self, you just start getting ideas that light you up because they benefit so many others. And maybe what you appreciate, the others that you really appreciate more than human beings, maybe it's other non-human beings. Maybe what will light you up is to imagine a better wildlife preserve, or people have been imagining better zoos. Zoos have been improving. Zoo habitats have been improving. They used to be just animals in cages, and people would walk by and look at them in the cages, and they go, oh. And then people started getting excited about mimicking their environments and getting better and better and better at giving the animals more and more whatever. Well, we gotta do better than that. We're gonna do it with the whole planet. We are going to re-garden planet Eden, and I cannot hardly wait. It's going to be so exciting. I would like to envision it first, and help others get excited about what our future really is, and in their excitement, then they go off and garden and be nice to animals and create really cool systems and ecosystems and friendly. We can create a beautiful, beautiful planet Earth full of non-poisonous creatures that we don't exploit. There's no need for us to exploit everything. In actual fact, it's going to be so much easier for us to get along on this planet as soon as we realize who we are and how to plug into source energy, because source energy is the power that, Abraham is correct, creates worlds. The power that creates worlds, the energy that creates worlds, this organizing force that we are spinning with is actually what it is. And the love is the spin, it's the connection, it's us, it's the pull of the shared point. It's both love and gravity. In a general way, you just kind of let that sit and you meditate with that and taste it and feel it and put it. So hold on a second. I am going to find this quote. So this is how these spins and all of the scales and layers of the data and information, this is how you connect to all of that as you, when you meditate, if you're, getting to the center of the center of the center of your own spin, trying to find your source, which is the original spin, the one that we are all connected to. But this was Nassim's quote. He says, When you integrate yourself as a biological being, you connect with the morphogenetic field of the planet. When you integrate yourself at the atomic level, you connect with the solar system. At the level of the proton, you integrate with the galaxy, and when you get all the way down to the Planck, you integrate with the universe. And we're talking about information fields that are reverberating through interference patterns across all of the spaces. It's the 0-point energy field, is this cosmic jiggle of space-time as all of the points upload their information to the whole, and at the same time, or in the same Planck motion, whether it's in and out or whether it's literally simultaneously, it's so quick, it's virtually that anyway. As the part is uploading its information to the whole, the information of the whole is downloading to the part. I just realized I didn't turn my lights on this morning. I've been turning my lights out, save a little electricity. There's two I leave on in the window, but so I would indeed like to leave the mathematics of all of this to the mathematicians and the physicists and all the specialists who this is their job, this is their interest, this is what they want to do, and it's what they understand. But us lay people can understand the structure of this, and you can understand how what the implications are going to be. Our understanding of where reality is coming from and what the force of gravity actually is. What the force of gravity actually is, it's the pull of that spin. And the force that holds a proton, all of the Plancks together inside of a proton, that force there, the quantum gravity, the quantum density, that's gravity. The strong force, the strong nuclear force that holds an atom together, it's gravity. It's the same force. Sometimes I wonder whether my job is, and I don't always know what it is, for me to actually get in and start in detail discussing. I need a bit of time. If I only have 2 hours to work with, it's hard to, in depth, describe both the law of attraction and all of its rules and unified physics and all of its shapes, and then pull it back together in a place where you assimilate it back together within yourself and realize the implications of all of that and discuss that. And then now you turn off the video and then you got to go live your life and translate that into everything from my bowling league to my husband with the crippled back, and are we going to play golf again, and what trips do we got, and what's going on with my daughters, and what's going on with my father and my siblings, and the plight of the rest of humanity, frankly, still echoes in at me. I can hear them clamoring around out there, upset about the way each other behaves. I would like to solve all of our problems, but I don't want to solve them awkwardly on the ground from a misunderstanding of what the actual situation is. I would like to come at all of our problems from this is who we are, and this is how the field works. Now, how do we solve our problems? First of all, you get back what you put out. We are transmitters and receivers, and each of us individually are pinging a signal to the universe, and the universe is resonating back in different ways and pulling us in different ways, and we are actually, the universe is pulling us because there are vortices of larger spins of attraction that others, momentums that others have built up, that you can become entrained in. Trump's got a rather big one going on, a big vortex of angry energy going on, that if you start resonating that direction, you could get pulled into that organizational field of negative energy. The universe is just a really cool place. Be more humble. Care more how you feel than you have been. Because it's not that the world is not physical, because it is. There is a physicality to it. There is a manifestation that is indeed there. An organization of spin that is configured in particular ways, that is flexing and flowing through our experience. And, it's all a dream. It's all a dream. Light passing by on the screen. And there's you and I on the beam, speeding through the universe. Thinking is the best way to travel. That's Moody Blues. It doesn't matter. Who are we? Who are we? I keep up the discussion. A lot of it is not pointed. I don't really know where we're going. I know that ultimately the benefit is to me. Ultimately the project is Project Who Am I? I think everyone should be personally involved in their own little project, Who Am I? As they question, who am I? And so unless you have done it before, it is very important to go in to your own operating system and rustle around through your belief system and sort out what you really do agree with and what you do not agree with, because you got a lot of unconscious beliefs in there that are all woven into your conscious beliefs. Some of them you got from your parents. You got a lot of stuff that you have not questioned, but if you question it, you might actually not leave it in there, in your up at the top of your operating system as something that you believe. You won't put it in there anymore. Me and my girls had, or my girls and I don't know the correct way to say that. They first found, because they were going to junior college, and I wasn't at that point, but they found a great teacher by the name of Jeff Salbato, and he was a philosophy teacher. He might have retired from there. He was a truly extraordinary human being. He had been, his history was, and he was very happy just teaching junior college where he was. He didn't need to be moving up the scale, the ladder or whatever of academic. He was happy where he was, and he actually believed that human beings were good. But he got us all to question whether or not we believed that human beings were primarily good or whether they were primarily bad, or innately or inherently, or are they some sort of nothingness of neutral in between. And he helped teach us what the roots of the different political parties were, and John Locke, and who was the other guy, the one who had great influence in conservative thinking, John Locke, and history, the flow of philosophy through history and how it shaped the beliefs and that moved the people to make the history the way they did. He was just a really good teacher and got us all to rethink what was going on in our minds. Everybody needs to do that one way or another, whether they do it because they got a great philosophy teacher, intro to philosophy teacher, that gets them to do that, or whether you just do it on your own. That act of opening my mind up when I threw off the yoke of my originating religion all helped too. But it makes me realize that your operating system, your consciousness operating system, is way more flexible than most people operate it with. They've got it nailed down to some specific physicality, and it's locking you in. And although I understand why you do that, and all you need to do is from that position just care how you feel, and where are we? 1 hour and 25 minutes in. We've done a very good job. I haven't really changed this slide ever, have I? I like that. I like not having changed the slide. I'll change the slide now, just to another whimsical picture of some sort. I call this one Hobbitscape. I don't know. It doesn't really look like a hobbit hole, but it looks like a delightful cottage that's blending perfectly into the... Can you imagine if we all lived like this? And you know we could. And you know why we can? Because we don't need roads. We don't need roads. The roads and the construction of the roads is what's causing all the damage to the ecosystems, the burning of the fossil fuels. If we could just fly wherever we were going instead of having to trundle across the and you know what? We can fly. We can fly on source energy. We can plug our technologies directly into source energy and no longer... I'm not sure how to do it with an airplane. I'm not sure how you get the quantity of energy that you need. But I look forward to seeing all of our technologists working on this, our physicists and our mathematicians and our technologists working on the technologies of the future based on who we really are and an understanding of who we really are. We are natural beings that need to blend into a natural landscape. Now I say that while at the same time I speak all the time of the evidence that shows that we might very well be genetically modified human beings. Human beings might be a genetically modified creature, but that doesn't matter. Even genetically modified creatures need to blend into the environment around them, and we need to too. It just explains why we need a user's manual explaining to us how the whole system works, why we don't just, our default setting isn't good enough. It's good enough until we hit contrast, and then we tend to believe the outside instead of recognizing that it's a function of what's going on inside. And that's what we have been on the trail of for the last many thousands of years as we track history and we understand who we are. We are a pedagogically evolving being. Pedagogically, I mean we are going through our pedagogical forms, the birth and immaturity and adolescence, and as mankind we are one being that is moving through time. And the way I know that is because you can line it up in your consciousness. You can organize it that way and go, oh yeah, look at that. Isn't that interesting? We are, aren't we? And we're learning. The universe, the way the mathematics shows, it shows quite clearly that the universe is a system that it's a feedback system, feed-forward feedback system that is learning about itself. And so, of course, we are learning about ourselves. And that's the whole reason why we have been keeping track of history. That is the whole reason why all the dictionary, the encyclopedias, the Wikipedias, the internet, the everything, all of it, fiction, nonfiction, everything, it is all designed for us to understand who we blinking are, and what is this medium that we are swimming in, and how does reality come into being, and how do we organize correctly? What is the way to do this? Well, the way to do this is to understand our nature and then lean into it in the most blessed, connected, loving way that you can. Now, I happen to be a hermit, and I don't spend a lot of time out there I'm no Mother Teresa, sacrificing myself for the good of others. You don't actually have to play it that way. You can play it however your heart leads you to play it. Follow your bliss. Do not follow your guilt. Do not follow your should. Follow your bliss, what lights you up inside. Because the world is the universe, God is lighting up through your light. You are in charge of your little corner of the grid. Light it up. Declare who you are. The world is coming at you. Life is coming at you. And the whole point of it is for you to not pay attention in horror to the details of materiality that could get you. That's what our materially centered focus has gotten us to. Everybody is so freaking afraid because when you focus on material specifics in a fearful way, guess what appears? Fearful things. The more frightened we are, the more fearfully it appears. It's like a dream, people. We are nightmaring it into being, though, when you do it that way. You've got to understand that we are powerful, powerful creators, and you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. I realize that if that indeed is true, and I do believe that it is true, it kind of explains in a way why my elderly father is locked into the situation that he is locked into, because he cannot quit thinking about what he is thinking about, and all he can think about is that the four walls that surround him are a prison, instead of realizing that it's all in his own mind anyway, and at the age of 98, he's not going to have, he's focusing on conditions still. He is conditionally focused. The thing is that the universe is infinitely huge in an unconditional way. All of the huge is very, very, it's expressed both infinitely small and infinitely large. And when your world gets smaller, you can focus the infinite down from the center of yourself. You can focus on the infinite from the small. And in your mind, you can still be free to roam the cosmos, even when your body fails you. When you're 98 years old and having a hard time moving around, you can know who you really are, and who you really are is not the body and never was to begin with. Now, he wants a tree that he can just focus on, because it's been his modus operandi all of his life to just, I don't think about that aspect of us or of me or of the situation. I just go out into the world and I stare at a tree. I feel the grass. I can feel the tree growing. I can feel its love and its stability, and it connects me to source. And that's why it would be so nice. I would love to be able to give my dad what he wants, but he's got it bound up in so many specifics that and conditions, and then he stays focused, locked on the walls around him, and he can't figure out why he can't get out of the situation that he's in, but he can't quit thinking about it the way he's thinking about it. And you get what you think about, whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not. And he's helping to lock himself into this position that he's got himself into. And it's hard. There is no real law. There's no law of assertion. I mean, it's all about love. And my love could break through if I felt it passionately enough, sweep in and, devote the rest of my life to granting to this precious man, his last request. And I would do it, except for his gatekeeper is so OCD. I don't, you could have all these pure ideas about doing that, but then on the ground, the reality is really going to crush your spirit. Uh, so I don't know. Path of least resistance tells me that that's really not the way. That's not the way to go. It's not. I'm jumping out of my position to assert something from a place where I don't feel supported. It doesn't feel like the next logical step to me. And so I have to back away from that a bit. But anyway, without details, that kind of gives you an idea of the sorts of things that I am dealing with in my life. The little things, because I do have a little life as I see our big life. We are living a big life as well, and I am part of a bigger project. And that bigger project is Project Humanity, which has been going on for quite a while. And we are a superorganism unto this planet, and we do need to get our systems in alignment with who we really are and how this really works. And the way it's going to be is not somebody in alignment coming up with some great, clever, well, there might be a piece of this, some clever organizational structure from without, that now everybody line up in these positions and go forth and do your bit. That might be a starting position, but then everybody has to understand that this, in order for this new system to truly work, it has to be flexible. It has to be malleable. It has to be changeable by every individual. And then we need to understand how the spirits that we are holding on to as we focus on intentions and move into activity, that they matter. They matter. When you have a dark spirit, you're going to turn the spirits dark around you even when the forms still kind of look the same. Remember that guy he lived in the Third Reich, and he wrote about it afterwards, about how it was interesting looking around how all the forms still looked the same, but the spirit had changed. And the spirit of his people, the spirit of his land, was no longer the same spirit, because it was taken over by the spirit of the Nazi spirit, which is a whole different kind of spirit. What Hitler did when he pretty much sort of invented Nazism. He took ideas that were there and he amplified and magnified and concluded and then rode forth from it. It is the Antichrist. It's the moving from your heart-brain connection. It's the opposite of that. It's the disconnect of the heart and the brain, and then now the brain, in its hurt and in its anger or whatever, now it looks out there looking for the culprit, looking for who's to blame, looking for the other who's responsible. It's a polarity force, and it's the polarity which is the enemy. The polarity is the enemy. We must not polarize. Even when we're the good guys and they are obviously the bad guys, you can't polarize even then. Even then, you cannot, and especially then. And so you could say, okay, well, the Germans were responsible for that because they didn't understand the situation and they elected the damn guy in the first place, or they allowed it to happen. And there was a point where there was an election where they could have thrown him out and they didn't, So the German people are responsible for that. They did not understand the candidate under the influence of angriness, of negative forces and negative energies. You don't elect that guy because by definition you can tell he's not in alignment with source, not in alignment with true reality. If he were in touch with true reality, he would feel the unity of the world, the connection of everything. He would be looking for the win-win position, not feeling that his destiny, his calling, what he must do is be in eternal conflict with the world around him. That's so backwards. That's so opposite of what you want. And if you understood the rules of the game and the rules of polarity and stuff, you would have known that to begin with. You'd have been like, oh, I can't elect that guy. You can just see he's off. Now, the other candidate in our American election doesn't appear to be off in that way, but as a figurehead position of the status quo, she is still operating in under the influence of a lot of things that um, we don't want to keep continuing in the future. We are caught between a rock and a hard place. But what you really don't do, you really want to elect the Shiva candidate, the one that's going to knock the whole thing down, or the one who's going to carry us down the road in a more orderly manner, with things not lurching. Now, it all depends. If we hold on to certain things that have to move, and they don't move, and they don't move, and they don't move, then we will have an earthquake. An earthquake, we might call it a world war, or I don't actually think we've got a world war in us anymore. I don't think you would find enough people to participate. There are too many people who understand these kinds of energy truths that I'm talking about. Maybe I have put it together in a unique way, but there are plenty of people out there who understand that what you put out is what you get back. So I ain't putting out no participation in no world war. I don't care how bad that character over there is being. The problem is actually a bigger situation that we're not addressing the abundance issue. The abundance issue, which is being incredibly pinched off because of the way because our civilization is being fueled by fossil fuel. We are made of oil, and we need to be made of light. We need to be made of source. We can fuel our technology through source energy. Now, as a bridge to that, in order to start incrementally weaning ourselves off of fossil fuel, because we don't have to lurch all at once. I mean, we will lurch all at once if all of a sudden, the wells dry up, or, the hurricanes, knock the refineries down, and then the people bringing us the oil make that much more money on the little that they can sell us. But, society doesn't move forward very well that way. You don't want to create desperate people, because desperate people do desperate things. And some of the desperate things that they do might be, to kill off the last of the elephants we got going out in the wild in East Africa, and creating orphans out of their children who now no longer how to behave. Now no longer know how to behave. Who am I? Who am I, and what's the object of the exercise? I think the object of the exercise is sustainability. It's a natural object of the exercise, because life wants to live. And so ultimately, the object of life is just to live. That's what it is. And so sustainability ought to be the object of our exercise. And there's other objects of the exercise. Joy. Joy is the object of the exercise. Did you know that? We're supposed to be having fun. This is supposed to be fun. There is nothing serious going on here. We are here eternally, eternally, eternally. And if we wouldn't hold so tightly, no matter what the spirit, to our measly little lives, we could quite quickly shift this whole thing in good order. But another part of the equation has been to value our lives. And so we focus in on our lives and value them. And that makes it harder for us to... but you know what we should value above our lives? Feeling good. Feeling good. Feeling good. You could live your life where you always, always, always felt good. Well, always, always. That's not true. People ask her, can I always feel this way? Well, not really, because you are designed to go into different emotional states. But you are absolutely not designed to stay in any of those emotional states. Like, um, you're designed to stay in the 7 on up. Actually, I think I've cut off some of that top one because that top one, I think it has more to it than that. And there's a number 1 and there's more words, and I can see that I've cut them off. How did I do that? It's because I was trying to get it all to appear on the way my screen was showing it, and I had to scroll to do it differently, and I either lost them all together. You're designed to be in contentment or higher. Hopefulness, optimism, positive expectation, enthusiasm, passion, all of that. That is where you're designed to be. And so when you feel the other ones, when you feel lower than that, that's supposed to be a signal, beep, 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 something going wrong. Who am I? Who am I? I don't really feel the enthusiasm to jump into this at this point in the narrative. I'm an hour and 45 minutes in. I could stop if I wanted to, and maybe I want to. I don't know. I have other things that I haven't talked about in a while. My 4 general states of being. Have you heard that one? The reason I bring this one up is because your state of being is determining which direction your being of light is moving in this, on the grid, in this universe. Are you moving forward with where our expansion is going and in the direction of what you want and what you love? If you are, then you are in a positive state. If you're in a negative state, it means you've got yourself turned backwards. And the reason I demark it this way, general and specific is your gas pedal. To go specific is to go faster in the direction of whichever way you're pointed. So if you're in a negative, please don't go specific, because it just makes you go faster in the direction of where you do not want to go. If you're in a negative, if you're balled up in a negative state of being, then by definition, you're facing backwards. You are not facing forwards. You're facing backwards. You're facing in the opposite direction of where you want to go. Now, it's exactly opposite. So just get yourself turned back around and then move. How do you do that? Go general. Go general. Go from your specific negative, where you are specifically looking at specific details on the ground, this and this and this and this and this, and I don't like it, and I don't like it, and I don't like it. And you get more and more balled up in your specific. Well, pull back to the general and just let it go and go, man, this sucks. Go more general than that. Sometimes life sucks, I guess. General, general, general. You are no longer thinking of the specific things that were bothering you. Now you can pivot. Well, life doesn't always suck. As a matter of fact, there's these things in my life that really don't suck. I love my husband. I love my kitty cat. I love my children. Maybe they were the ones that jacked you up in the first place. Go someplace that's easy, that doesn't have any resistance for you. Flowers, but whatever it is that you have no resistance to, where your bliss is, go there and follow that. Don't follow your resistance. Follow your bliss. And all of this is so. All of these things I say are exercises in trying to pull your attention off of whatever, resituate the quality of your attention, because the spirit that you are broadcasting on is the most important part of your attention. If you are looking at it from a spirit that's all jacked up and all angry or aggrieved or whatever, then no matter what it is you're looking at, you're not going to make it better from that position. You're only going to make it worse. because your state of being is everything. So pull back to the general, pivot to the positive, and then, try to get a momentum of the positive. Just let it rest in the nothingness. That's why Abraham tells you to meditate, because it's so easy. It's much easier to just think no thought than to try to pivot to positive thought. But if you can get a habit of a space where you have no thought, it will allow your inner being, who already has a positive momentum going, will allow her to get a toehold in. Maybe you might catch a whiff of a positive thought in there somewhere. You might catch one. If you do, follow it. Follow it. It's a will-o'-the-wisp that's going to lead you out of the wilderness that you find yourself in. Then when you find yourself in a general positive, now look around. Is there anything there that interests you? If you can find anything that interests you from that direction, follow it. And the world will be a better place for it. All of us following our bliss. All of us doing what our hearts call us to. That's what's going to get us to peace on earth, goodwill towards men, planet of abundance, regardening Eden, conquering gravity, plugged into source energy, moving out into the greater galaxy, interacting with other intergalactic beings who also understand the nature of source and the field and the spin and original spin and the unity and all of that. I think that this understanding of reality is the ticket to the galaxy. Come at it from a vibrational sense, and the distance is way shorter. All the distances are way shorter. And your ability to move around the planets and move around the spaces, it's way different than we thought it was. It's way more internal than we thought it was. It's possible that the way you travel through space is that you leave your body behind and you jump on board some other kind of thing and you move vibrationally from this spot to that spot because they share the same spot. You don't have to go anywhere to get to this. You just tune into that spot. Tune into that spot, and then there you are. I don't know, but I know that this direction needs to be explored, and all of us need to put our mind this way, because this is what reality is. This is the origin of mass and the nature of gravity. This is how the forces are all unified. This is quantum gravity. This is the explanation of how to get our society from where we are to where we want to be. It's baked into the cake. And this is who we are. And I wasn't going to do any of this, and I'm not going to do any of this. This is I believe we're genetically modified. I did mention that early on. This is the article. It was published by geneticists. And they don't say, we conclude that we've been genetically modified. That's not what they conclude. They conclude that human chromosome number 2 is a fused chromosome. That's all they conclude. They do not claim how it was fused. None of that. They just say it was fused. And it created 76% of our neocortex, which is the mind that makes us human. It's our specifically human perspective, our ability to think about the past and imagine the future and put things together that have never been put together before. We are not just observers and reactors to reality. We are creators of reality because of this ability. And somebody gave it to us by virtue of a little genetic tweak. We conclude that they're basically talking about human chromosome number 2, that it's the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome. Number 2. The other thing I haven't talked about in a while is cymatics, being the study of the relationship between vibration and form, because it is really important that you understand that we live in a vibrational universe and we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe, and that changes the meaning of our emotions. It changes the meaning of our thoughts. It changes the meaning of our lives. Emotions come first. Spirit first, people. Spirit first. Set the dial, the frequency that you're broadcasting on first. And then let's talk about everything. Let's talk about everything. Let's talk about all the possibilities and all of the hopeful tomorrows, where we really are going with this. We are going wonderful, wonderful places. How long will it take before others around us are starting to see, oh man, look how cool this is. We're up off the surface of the planet. We can fly through the air now. We no longer have to slather the surface of our beloved Gaia in concrete and asphalt and run our vehicles down roads that when animals try to cross them, we kill them by the millions. Let's stop doing all of that. Let's get back to a place where our main households can more look like these. Let's see. Where's my Hobbitscape? The one I was at just a little while ago. Hobbitscape. Where is my Hobbitscape? Is it after my magical? This one. So that our lives can look like this. I want to live on a planet that looks like this, but I want to live here in comfort and in technology and in freedom, connected to all of the ecosphere around me. What joy that will be. And I know that we're going to get there. I just don't know if it will be in my lifetime. Any piece of that. Looks like I am coming up on, I'm past an hour and 56 minutes, so I need to get off the air. I will be back tomorrow, perhaps, probably. I guarantee nothing, but it's likely because I enjoy this. And so I'll be back tomorrow. I hope you will too. I love you. Stay safe. Be cool. Pay attention to how you feel. Care about how you feel. Do your best. I'll see you tomorrow, and until then, may the source be with you.